Welcome to the Bard of All Trades podcast. I'm your host, Brad the Bard, and today I have the Femme Fatale, Brittney Elkin, on the show. And before we get started, I just want to shout out some of my sponsors. Saga Jiujitsu. If you guys want 1 week free of learning how to beat people up, mention Brad the Bard, and you get 1 week for free. Additionally, Valley Jiu-Jitsu, same deal. Go check them out. Mention me, and you get 1 week of free trial. Learn how to beat people up with some jiu-jitsu. Also, B&B Media. If you guys need help with streaming or video or anything like that, hit us up, and we'll take care of you. And finally, darklegacy.net. If you guys like horror and sci-fi and creative writing, check that website out. All the links are in the description. Finally, my Patreon subscribers, Sam and Chris, giant shout out to you guys. Thanks for supporting the show. And that's a mouthful. Thank you for
you got that down, though. You did good with it. You must have said it before.
Yeah, once or twice. Cool. So obviously we have some pretty awesome stuff coming up this weekend. You're fighting a pretty prominent black belt here at the Sub Out Domestic Violence. I think that's a great place to start. Can you tell me a little bit about what you're doing to ramp up for some competition here?
Yeah. Well, I've been competing a lot this year. I've had several matches, and I got my black belt actually in December, but me and Bridget have actually gone against each other before as purple belts on the Fight to Win stage in the gi.
Wow.
And
in the gi.
Yeah, so it's a total different time.
I was going through your Instagram, and I was looking for a gi thing with you, and I'm like, oh man, she really is in the no-gi thing for like a while here.
Probably the past 2 years, pretty heavy. Like I was in the gi like strictly like mostly till brown belt other than MMA.
Yeah.
And I did it majorly, and then I just started competing heavy in no gi a lot on Fight to Win.
Yeah.
And then other opportunities started to open up, and I just found it to be more what I like.
Yeah.
But that was the last time we went together, purple belts.
Who caught the W that time?
I did.
Nice.
So it's gonna be. I'm sure she's gonna
come
come hard. I'm sure she's gonna come hard. But yeah, she's always been super cool.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
We're doing it to raise money for the domestic violence thing, the event that they're putting on. So it is like a volunteer donation match, you know. And I was trying to take a bunch of matches right before trials to try to just be as prepared as possible.
Definitely.
Luckily, I don't have to cut weight for trials.
Yeah.
So I'm going in heavy, but there's a lot of huge talent in trials, obviously, which to be expected.
100%.
And I'm not taking Bridget lightly because I don't like losing.
Yeah, so, definitely. We gotta keep that momentum going, right?
Yeah, and it is at 165, so I do have to cut.
For this one coming up right now. Okay.
So originally it was at 160, but I didn't want to cut that much before trials. So we renegotiated. Yeah, so and she was very kind to, since we're not since we're not like profiting off of it, it was a lot easier negotiation.
Just say, yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
It's interesting that you say like she's cool and stuff, because it seems like with girls, it's either like the competitors like hate each other's guts, or like they're very like, oh, I love that girl, like I've trained with her in the past kind of thing.
There's definitely girls I hate. Yeah, but me and Bridget, we've always been cordial, and after our last match, after the win or whatever, she and I like kind of met friends. It was here in Philly.
Oh,
nice.
Nice.
It was when we went against each other, and it's really neat to go again to review each other, you know. And when you get to that level, you kind of eventually have faced a lot of them if you're a competitor. Yeah. You know, and so I always like to revisit and make sure I'm still checking my dots,
to snuff,
checking everything up. So, I'm super excited. That's this Sunday. The matches start at 11 a.m.
I got to get in there early to set up.
They go early. I know. We are the main event, me and Bridget.
That's awesome.
So I do get to get there a little bit later than the others.
Yeah,
so I'm a little excited.
Yeah, you get to eat some lunch before you get in there.
A little chill. Come and shake it off. And then I'm going to warm up. And actually, I couldn't get anybody to cover my shift that night. So I have to leave there and go straight to work.
Oh, man. Hopefully you don't get like a black eye.
I mean, let's go. I get more tips with black eyes. Yeah. I don't know why. Like, people give me more money.
They want
like,
a story.
Yeah. And they're like, I'm sorry this happened.
That's crazy. So, it's like the domestic violence thing. Like, it comes full circle.
I know we were saying that it's like really interesting that it's a domestic violence match.
Like,
you know,
like you're fighting for it. Yeah, it's the irony, but it keeps it real, right?
Yeah,
it makes sense.
Kind of fun.
Yeah.
So.
Let me ask you this. I'm curious, what do you like to eat before a match? Like, it seems like you said you get to show up a little later than everyone else. So what's the meal that your go-to before you get to have a match coming up?
I mean, I'm like a food person, so I do enjoy like all foods, and I'm really not that picky. But before a match, I eat kind of light. So something that's going to keep me mobile I don't have like a go-to or anything. One of my favorite things is a BLT.
Oh, word? Yeah,
I don't know why.
It
I just kind of like a light Sando. I know, terrible. I'm probably not the most like knowledgeable on nutrition, even though I've done cuts forever. But I don't know. If I'm alone and nobody's looking, I eat what I want. I just don't put it heavy in. I don't eat anything that's gonna like make me feel like, oh, I need a nap.
I made the mistake one time. I did a Fuji tournament and I ate like a ton of like vegan chicken wings and French fries the night before, and I was just dogging. I just like gassed in all my matches. I did terrible. It was like probably the worst tournament I had.
The vegan chicken wings are awesome though.
They're so good, and I was like, this is gonna work. Like they're basically vegetables. Vegetables are healthy. Just justified it so poorly.
I know. I do kind of justify things like that. I'm like, it's vegan, so it's okay, but it's not okay all the time. It's like consolidated or concentrated gluten. But I mean, I probably would eat them. I know, like, I used to be like, when I first started, I used to be like on top of everything. And I'm not that I'm not on top of it, but I just am a little bit more like, I'm okay. I just have a little bit more trust in my system. Yeah. Or I know myself better. Yeah. But I keep it light. I don't like try to go eat fries or anything. I think
fries are like the worst thing. Even before training, like I've gone to like Red Robin and got like the bottomless like French fries thing. So that's always a terrible decision. I find like a poke bowl or sushi.
Yeah, something like that is my favorite.
It's the move.
I have made the mistake of like when I was in MMA cutting to 45, I made the mistake of eating really rich sushi right before my fight day. So like weight cut, we went out to sushi and I ate like the really rich rolls. And that was a big mistake because I got really sick. I didn't hydrate right before.
Oh, no.
I was like yellow the next day. So, I mean, I am cautious. Like, I think also if it doesn't feel right, I'm not eating it. You know what I mean? So
eat what makes sense, like to your body. Listen to it. Yeah. It's good that you're in tune.
Yeah,
the body
I try
mind
to be.
connections right there.
I like make some kind of like, I know what I'm doing, but I probably, don't make all the right calls.
Yeah. No one can be perfect every time.
I do eat different if my coach is there or something.
That checks out.
I'm like, oh, I'm a salad girl.
Yeah.
But,
so I got to keep that front up.
I feel that. Can't be.
I feel that.
Can't be beaten on the bad choices. Yeah. But yeah.
So I'm curious about because you mentioned the fight to win stage. Mm-hmm. I'm curious about your involvement with it, and I'm curious about what your thoughts are on them moving kind of out of the East Coast, and they're kind of permanently keeping their thing out there in the West now.
They are actually more mobile again. I had talked to Seth recently. Okay. I was with I've made a lot of my friends through Fight to Win. It was a big part of my career. It did give me, I feel like it gave me a platform to continue to compete constantly as I was touring. Yeah. With them. I toured with them for 5 years, and for like the first 3, I never missed a show after I started. I started on like show 16. And I don't think I missed anything until like I fought for Bellator, and that was the first gap in time that I took off. It's incredible what they have done. A lot of platforms have copied the model. Yeah. They had to stay in Texas through like Corona. They had to go to the states that allowed it.
That makes sense.
And like Philly for a while opened up, but then Philly shut down in the midst of their contract. So like they had to again rebuild the wheel, and they went to Florida, and I was still touring with them then.
What time was this? Like early, like 2020-ish?
I just left tour. I mean, they in 2020-ish, they had to revamp the whole model. Nobody knew what was going on. Yeah. And then remember. I know that Seth had it to where he opened back up in Dallas because the venue allowed it. And then they allowed like only so many in the building at so many times. In the beginning of that first Corona like wave, when we were all like figuring out what was going on. Yeah. They actually, I didn't get to go because they had to limit staff. They had to limit things. And then when they could bring me back, they did. And I was back with them for a long time. And I'm getting older. I have like the PFL with Kayla. They gave me a break. I went right back, and then like times changed, and I moved out here, and I actually started working in a venue out here, but it just didn't work out. And again, I went back, and then I reeled it in a little because I have some personal goals. When I fought Clarissa, I just didn't go back, and I've been really hyper focused on I've always been moving as I've been doing these high level competitions. I want to see how I'll perform when I'm actually
stable, right? Stable. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And I feel better about being home, but I still am like it's still a huge part of like the character I've been made.
Yeah.
And I know that they just announced a tour. They're starting in, I think, Sacramento, and then they go Honolulu, and then they're going back all around. So I think it's
nice. So they're
gonna
swing
hit the
back to
country.
East. Nice.
And
Man,
yeah,
going
he did mention
Honolulu.
they'll be
Must
back out
nice.
here last time I talked to him. So
Yeah.
it's crazy how far jiu-jitsu has really like, or like the platforms that we get to compete
Yeah.
on have been more options. Like before it was just like the tournament, IBJJF,
Yeah.
you know, in the old days. And it's really, there's a super fight every weekend and sometimes 2 or 3 going on at once, you know?
Yeah.
So, and all these $10,000 cash prizes, that was
Yeah,
unheard of.
the Emerald City,
you know,
is
only like
definitely hooking people up.
yeah, I mean, them, and I can't even name all of the ones and some have failed. You know, because you have to go through the trial and error phase.
I remember I kind of got into jiu-jitsu being involved in like something like that was kind of starting up, trying to build like a league and stuff like that. And I didn't train. I was calling people like Renzo Gracie at the time. You know what I mean? People were getting after me. And people kind of got me into it. I remember my coach, Andrew Cockle, he's fought on Fight to Win in Philly like multiple times.
Okay.
He's guy with the rooster hat. I don't know if you ever seen him. No.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
I might know him though.
Yeah, you probably if you saw him, you'd know him. He's a black belt. He fought one of
Yeah.
Pat Sabatini's guys.
He's
most
probably so
recently.
mad at me right now.
Yeah,
that
no,
I'm just kidding,
not
I'm
even. But I remember I had wrestled in like high school and I was in the military and I did some like army combative stuff. And I said like, yeah, I don't care. Like if you're a black belt in jiu-jitsu, like we can like wrestle. I'll beat you up. And he just destroyed me. Like tapped me every 30 seconds for like on the second for 6 minutes straight. And I was like, all right, man, maybe I'll come check out your gym.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I need to shut up and start learning. Yeah, I mean, I get to meet all these people. I very well may know this guy.
Yeah.
Like from the thing, Fight to Win had the thing where I feel like we were one of the first. I feel like we were one of the pioneers.
I think what Fight to Win built is like you said, there's so many people like mimicking a lot of
copying
things
the
that
model.
they do.
Like,
Yeah, 100%.
and I know it hurt us when I still say the word us, like I'm evolved, like,
yeah.
But it definitely hurt us when everybody started doing it. But I think it's only collaborated, like all come together now as it's like, it's not just, you know, there's so much to offer now that we have such a, you know, as a whole of a community, we have so much, and why not give people more options? And if there's money to be made there, give them more options.
It only advances the sports for
that's
the
what I'm trying to say. You said it better.
Yeah. No, you definitely were hitting it on the nose. And I think like imitation's like the greatest form of flattery, right? So I think one of the coolest things about Fight to Win is they advertise themselves as like the biggest party in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Right? And I've been to multiple Fight to Win events myself to spectate. I haven't gotten the fight on the stage yet.
No?
Maybe one
Did you
day.
apply?
I haven't.
So that's your fault.
100%.
Because usually they try to do if you apply.
Yeah. I just got my purple belt, so
Okay.
I need to win something at purple before I try to go do
whatever you need. You got to do it. Your process is yours.
of course. So. I would hate to like make my first big match as purple belt like on the Fight to Win stage getting choked.
In those first years, it was so stressful because like we built the wheel and like the people in front of me built it, and then we were trying to build what their dream was. You know, we're like Seth and Missy were creating a platform, and they were like, this is what we vision. And then it was like the staff was like, build the vision, and like we were building their process, you know. All of us were incredibly stressed, and
no doubt.
We called ourselves Team No Sleep back then because none of us slept. Like, and then the rule on the team, I think we were only like 7 then. There were 7 people, and if a fight fell off, you had to step in, regardless who it was. And so
That's
all of us
crazy.
had to do that a lot.
What was your job like behind the scenes? Like you weren't like running camera.
I was
obviously.
running camera.
You were,
So-
and you had to take a match.
Oh,
like,
all the
that's
time.
Crazy.
We would just change positions. Like all of us would be like,
Wow.
I need a pee. Please change my.
Yeah.
But like, Missy was very often at the door, and then like I would help with the door with her, and then I would have to run to a camera. Missy would have to go cover a camera. We would just be
That's
tossing. We
incredible.
never had enough, but we did
Yeah.
it. And
that says a lot about the team synergy.
yeah, we like would be at the end of the show ready to kill each other, but we all loved each other. And if
For
anybody
sure.
fucked with us, we were like, "Fuck
Yeah,
you know what I mean?"
I'm
So,
the only
like,
one
I'll
that can
kill
call
you.
him a shithead.
Yeah, and like we were very protective of what we built, but and again, that's kind of why we didn't. I think like like when I can't even remember who was the first to copy us, but when they started
Yeah.
to, we were really offended because we're like, why are you trying to take this? We worked so hard, you know.
Yeah.
And then now it's like whatever. It is nice to see everybody doing well in the sport, and then you kind of like, I said this like when Cole won the East Coast trials.
Yeah.
I was like, man, we've watched this kid since he was 9, you know, and he was on our stage, and it was just really neat to watch him go to like this stage in his career. And so we got to watch a lot of them, and I've probably met your coach, but like I've met all the coaches, and then like 100%. I can't remember one of their names, you know what I mean? So,
no, I'm sure you've met way more people in jiu-jitsu than I have. Easily. Way more bigger names too. It
was an awesome opportunity that is I reference daily, and I'm ready to work on me a little, and that's what this whole last year was for me.
That makes a lot of sense. I've been kind of noticing your journey as well. Like you kind of stuck out. I remember the first time I kind of like found out about you was when I was training at Studio 84. Your name would come up a lot. Like I trained with like Amanda Levy a couple times, and they were like, "Oh man, these like female MMA fighters are like coming out of the woodwork."
Me and Amanda fought on Fight to Win too.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even know that actually.
At purple belt too. So,
that's so crazy. Look at you, like you're setting the stage at that time. Like the purple
so like
belt.
that.
I need to start building my.
We would fly in. That was in Jersey. I would fly in. Run the door, get everybody
like
in.
Midwest, right? You were still living out there.
I was in Colorado.
Yeah.
And then they would say by, so then none of us would really compete before 9 p.m. So we could get everybody in the door. Mm-hmm. And then you'd have like 15 minutes to warm up, and then you get on the stage, and then you had to tear it all down and then fly home. So like that was the way of the old ways.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Studio 84, I miss the culture that was there a lot.
Some of my hardest roles and like funnest like roles with some people in that room, man.
And Amanda, look at how much she's done since too. Like she's going up against Kendall, who I've got to go against 3 times. I got to go against her on Fight to Win, and once at Subversive and once at ADCC trials, and she whipped me on all of them. But those 2 are going against each other in Polaris, so it's it's like
insane.
Wow, you know all these people.
The last time I saw Amanda was actually at Emerald City 3. My team was filming that, and she was obviously dominating, like right after her win against Gabby Garcia. So it was like, it was good to see her on a tear,
Yeah.
And I love to see that with people that are like somewhat in my circle, it's like, I've met this person. This is so cool.
It's really neat to watch them, like, wow. And you have to think too, all these platforms really helped build these people up because they're always training for the next show. Of course. So that's neat.
What do you think is something that you guys built like in the beginning that kind of was modified, like big, that was kind of like maybe one of your creative visions? Like you were like, this is not the way we do this. Like, this is how we should do this.
We were all so particular. It's hard to pull something like that. We put one thing that I love, and this was not my idea.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah.
I don't really know. Sometimes it's hard to reference a memory like that. But one thing I love that Seth did is he put the front row seats right at the stage edge, where not only were the competitors possibly following on you, but you got to beat the mat and scream, and that's why it was like the biggest party in jiu-jitsu. And that envision is still a huge part. Like everybody like crowds that front row, and they get to like, it's like interactive. And we have kept that model for everywhere that wasn't like a venue that disallowed it. Some states you have to involve the commission, even if you're no striking, But I think our group was like the misfit clan of jiu-jitsu. Like one of us was from everywhere. One of us had we all have a story. And like, it was just like the motley crew of jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? Like awesome. It was, and that's what made us special, is like our boldness, individual characters. And then all of us were like, everybody has a story, but all of us like, I was MMA, Troy was in a band, and Evan was a lighting guy, and Missy was a promoter from Texas, and Seth and her worked together to start the tourneys, and we all had this like little credible experience that made us like a rock and roll concert with MMA fighters that, just knew how to promote. And it really worked. Can you tell me like a crazy story that happened? Like an unbelievable thing? Like maybe a fight that broke out in the crowd or something? A couple fights that broke out in the crowd. I think Nate Diaz once got in a fight in our crowd in California. And what was crazy is actually, we were very tight niche, like almost like we were a family. So when I fought Kayla Harrison, I actually put Missy in my corner, And me and Missy flew from, like, literally I got out of the cage and then we got on a plane. Basically, we were in Chicago all week, and then we had to get on a plane to fly to Sacramento. We get into Sacramento, and I hid on the camera because I didn't want to talk to anybody about my loss. And everybody was like, "Oh, you just fought Kayla. We literally just watched you last night, and now you're on the camera for Fight to Win." But in that thing, Nate got in a fight. It was the first time that we had him there. I've been asked like all these crazy stories, and when I'm here bullshitting with my friends, I'm like, "Oh, do you remember when?"
Yeah.
So many crazy things. The video wall fell on us once.
The what?
Like the video wall. The big wall.
No, like the
fell.
LED wall thing?
Yeah, it
No
fell like
way.
30 minutes before show. And we somehow rebuilt the wall in 30 minutes and had it up. And I think the doors were like 15 minutes late. And back then it's like, we never are late. And I have done every job on it from... I used to be the $10 parking girl, where I used to collect $10 from you when you came in from parking, and I would wear my gi out there, and
that's
my
funny.
purple belt, and collect $10
cool.
and get everybody pissed at me.
That's a good way to like say like, I'm gonna fuck you up. You didn't give me that $10 though.
People were so pissed that they had to pay for parking, but then again, the model is copied everywhere, and I think the whole tour was crazy, that it's so hard to like find one significant memory.
That LED wall is pretty crazy.
It was insane.
What happened then?
I know what happened,
man.
but nobody would admit it that day. So they have a truss tower. It's on a truss bar.
Yeah. Okay.
And then they have the cranes that cranked up, and our cranes weren't as good as they are now.
Mm-hmm.
They were equipment that maybe didn't hold, but our lighting guy was like, he has a special dude, and he's wonderful. I love him.
Yeah.
But he's like, when he makes a decision, he just acts, you know, and it's like, we were all pressed for stress, you know, to get these shows up. And he started trying to move it when it was raised, and then it just, it smashed. We lost a whole row. And if you have seen those panels, they're like 12 by 12 panels that you connect together. Mm-hmm. And it's expensive. I think that wall's like $100,000 at least, you know, or at the time was.
Yeah, for sure.
And it smashed.
I know. I remember Emerald City asked my team if we could put that together, and we looked into it, and we're like, no way, dude. There's no way we can afford that.
It was wild.
If we rent that, that's gonna be like more than what you're paying us.
Yeah, and then if you damage it too.
Yes. No thanks.
Yeah, I mean, it was, and then back then too, like, I know this sounds crazy. We're so accustomed to like ordering Uber Eats and ordering like Instacart and stuff for your things. But like we would be trying to get lunch and get the wall up and like run all over. So when a tragedy, like the wall fell, and that was something that made us stand out because we had one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it just was like, how do we deal with this? It was like one of those production nightmare videos, you know, like where AC/DC wall fell, but we were not AC/DC, but you know what I mean? Like it
the
just
AC/DC of Jiujitsu.
Yeah, it was just wild. Yeah. And so, it was like, but then now we reference it and laugh our ass off whenever we're around each other in culture.
Course,
so it's like, it actually fell on our production guy.
Wow.
And it like, I can't believe Gary's made of stone, I think.
Yeah.
So somehow he lived. He's like old man muscle, but
old man strength is real.
Yeah. I literally just walked into the back room, and I hear this huge crash. It sounded like the ceiling fell.
Yeah.
And it was insane.
Like, I bet it was.
And then back in the day before Corona, these were all before Corona things.
Yeah.
We had like 2,000 people waiting at the door.
Oh no.
So not only did we have to rush to put the wall, our will call was like John Smith, Jane Smith, Jack Smith. You know what I mean? Like we were trying to get these people ready to go to their tables and their tickets. It was insane.
I bet. Well, what's that equation? Tragedy plus time equals comedy, right?
Yeah,
so.
it was definitely comical, or is now. I wish it would have been on
exactly.
video, but that was wild. We have a million stories like that. Every weekend was a story.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure. I know, like every time that I had gone to one, I remember one. I was just talking to Eric Naples about having you on the show. Actually, I was talking to him driving here, and we were talking about like some things. And I remember the first time I had saw him at Fight to Win, he just turned 21, and he got bombed after his match. Like he won, and he was just like the most drunk, like so fucked up. Just seeing him go, oh, I'm fucking dominating everybody.
Yeah,
it's just I love to see like the community kind of like build each other up like that.
Well,
It's
back then
crazy.
too, you didn't. I mean, I think Naga gave out title belts and hatchets or whatever. But like when you won a a title from Fight to Win, it really meant something.
Yeah.
And
I think it still does.
I think so too. But I mean, like, it was like pristine, you know?
I've had a lot of people on my podcast, and in the description a lot of the time, like, they're always like, yo, Fight to Win champ. Make sure that's in there.
Yeah.
You know, it's a regarded title to have.
Yeah,
You
it's
know?
like, and, you know, before that, there wasn't that. And so that's why I think, I don't know. It's just, it's still, like I said, it's like such a notable time in my life.
Yeah.
I reference it constantly. So
Definitely.
I think a lot of people think like that are outside of the community because I bartend,
Yeah,
you know, and I'm
course,
like, I toured, and they're like, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like,
you don't get it.
You don't get it.
For real. Well, I'm curious about your jiu-jitsu journey a little bit. So I kind of want to know, like, where did Brittney start with a white belt, and then how did she get to MMA, right? Because that's like you got to the major leagues as far as martial arts is concerned.
I actually knew nothing about fighting, and I did nothing. I was in Gillette, Wyoming, of all places. Super big community of jiu-jitsu there. And no, I'm kidding.
I was about to say that's very interesting.
No, in the local promotion, I was bartending or cocktailing.
Yeah.
And I was working a beer garden. Like, I think my beer garden was Corona and Bud Light. And the fights were at our bar. And never paid attention to fights before. I mean, they've been on in the background.
Yeah.
Nothing like that. And I had just gone through a small town divorce. So I was like, CrossFit was huge. It was like one of the first like workout things that I ever picked in. And so like, I just had these stacked arms, you know, I was like handing out Coronas with stacked arms. And the local promoter was named Matt DeWolf, still a good friend of mine. And he brought on, the promotion was called Ring Wars, and they would do the promotion outside. And it was, sorry, Matt, it was a bad setup, but it was awesome because it's a staple memory. But he was friends with Spencer Fisher at the time, who was back then like huge. And I mean, he's still a name, but he brought up Spencer Fisher to be like a meet and greet person at the fights. And they came to my beer garden, and they're like, "You look tough. You should fight." And I'm like, "Yeah, you think I'm tough?" You know, and I'm like flexing and talking about how my guns, you know, or something like that. And then, he was just like, "You should fight." And he's like, "You look like a fighter. You should try it." And then I was like, "Okay, I'll check this out," because I was training CrossFit, nothing. Yeah. And there was this tiny little gym called Iron Wolf Gym, and that's where I started. And it was mostly boxing. I think the team out of there was La Familia, fight team. And after 3 months of training, I had my first amateur MMA fight. And I didn't even know the rules. I was just sold that I was a fighter. Like I said, I was just out of a divorce. I think sometimes you go through an identity crisis in those stages.
Oh, we have them.
Yeah. But I fought, and then they were like, we sold the place out. I fought in Spearfish, South Dakota. And
that's the name of the town, Spearfish?
Yeah. It's right outside of Sturgis.
Oh my gosh.
And I fought 3 times real close to each other. And of course, then I was like, I'm the best fighter in the world.
Yeah.
You know, but I was fighting other girls they pulled from beer gardens. Yeah. It's not like I was
man.
You know, I was fighting white belts. And I was too. And then I got an offer from Denver from, I can't even remember. I think Kickdown or I can't remember the fight promotion. I think it was Kickdown. And it was against a girl that was a grappler named Maureen Riordan. And my coach, I told him about it, and I was like, I want to take this. And he's like, Brittney, you are not ready for this. You don't train any grappling. And he did know better, you know, but I was like, I'm ready. And he said no. So then I called the promoter. I was like, yeah, I'm taking it. and then I
you went over his head to say yes. Damn.
And then I get my little Gillette friends to meet me after practice to do extra training. Yeah. It was Jeremy Hart and Joe Eckwall. And they were local fighters in Gillette, Wyoming, you know. And the whole camp, I was just just not telling my coach. And then he just thought I was just getting super dedicated. But I took this fight, and there wasn't the same releases like there were now. You know, like everybody would know if you took a fight. Like,
yeah, it's all over Instagram, right?
Yeah. So I kept it a secret until we were driving to Denver, which is a 6-hour drive. I was cutting weight in the car in a sauna suit with the heaters on.
Damn.
To make 145.
We've been there.
And then it was my first commission fight, so I had to do all these sneaky things. I had to go get my eyes tested and my blood work, and Wyoming didn't have a commission at that time, so I was taking all those fights out of commission. And then I got to Denver, and my coach called me. He found out that I was going to a weigh-in because another local fighter was like, "Is Brittney on this fight card?" And that's how, like, it was like printed fight cards. I mean, it seems not long ago, but it's like long ago, you know what I mean? Like flip-phone Nokia type long ago. And,
wow.
Yeah. And then I was like, yes. And he's like, you're going to lose. And then all of a sudden I was like, I'm going to lose. And I made 145, like spitting in a cup. And then I got her, and I actually hit her and I knocked her down, but I let her back up because they said she's such an amazing grappler. And then I kind of like, I do believe if you think you're going to lose, you will. And you,
that's one of your first opponents, right? Is your mind
So it was
going onto the mat.
First loss. And then I was pretty disrespectful to go behind somebody's back. I learned a huge lesson in this. I've never been in the culture before. And again, I thought I was the gift. I thought it was like going to be awesome. And which I have. But I think I got kicked off the team. Damn. And then I was just still sold on the thing. So I actually never put on a gi until I moved to Denver. I moved to Denver that year after I got kicked off the team. And I brought my son with me. He started kindergarten in Denver. And yeah, that's where it started.
That's
and
crazy.
Then
what was the team called?
303 Training Center.
303, okay.
I started there. And then I took a peek. We were training with Grudge Training Center. So like it was, you could do jiu-jitsu at 303, but you had to make certain spar days to be on the team. This was the old Grudge.
For the MMA team. Okay.
That's where I met a lot of like Gaethje, and I met like Nate Marquardt and all these names that are well into their fame now, you know, like they were all there. And then I went with Team Wildman for a little bit, and then I went to Team Elevation, and I was with Team Elevation for a while, and then I got my black belt. The whole time I was with Team Elevation, they have a jiu-jitsu club and everything at Easton's. I was with the Lovato affiliate, and who I got my black belt from. After purple belt, I was under him, and it was Brad Nicolarsson, and then it just progressed because I never said no. I mean, like I was at a point, Seth got me a fight versus Fallon Fox. I fought on Seth's MMA fight. That's how I became so close with Seth. That's why Seth took me on tour.
That's crazy.
And
how did you do against Fallon Fox?
We were supposed to fight, and then it fell out. Yeah. So we never fought.
That's crazy.
We both said yes, and we were in contract or starting that. And then because I was a fill-in for Randy, that Olympian wrestler, and then she wasn't allowed to take it because of the military. So
wow, that's crazy.
I've had so many opportunities that I'm very, very lucky and proud, but I always said yes. I fought everybody at the time. But I was fighting at 145. And as much as like my mind goes, you could do that again. I choose not to, because I never did a service to myself. I really had to suffer, and I never fought well. Yeah. And so I just take 55ers now. You know, you'd have to give me some serious money to get me to go to 45.
Yeah, that makes sense. So do you still call Elevation home? Because I know you're training pretty often at finishers.
I wouldn't say I see. The funny thing is after Kayla Harrison fight, Ray called me to be in the first. So Kayla was a exhibition bout or whatever, right? And then they did the women's tournament. So after that, he called me. He's like, hey, go take a tune-up fight, though. We want you to fight, you know, between that and then come on this league that we would do. And I fought Bobby Joe Dazzle, who ended up being in the league, but she broke my arm in the first 30 seconds. I broke it in 3 places, blocking a kick wrong. Oh, and man. I fought the 4 minutes in that fight. And then I couldn't fight in the league. So I was like, this is my retirement fight. I mean, I was 8 months I refused surgery, so I went the really hard route. I'm stubborn. And I basically broke my ulna in a pizza shape, so this whole triangle was missing. Man. And then instead of getting surgery because I didn't want to pay the bill, I told him to squeeze it. And it took 8 months to heal. And then I missed that opportunity. And then I was like, I'm retired. I'm not building my way back up. And then I just did tons and tons of jiu-jitsu. I think I did like 30 matches total, a lot for Fight to Win, all over the country. Just took tour and I just did that. And then when I moved out here, with being within a month of living here, Ray calls me again. He's like, do you want to fight Clarissa? And I just couldn't find a way to say, I didn't want to say no, but I couldn't find, I was like, of course I do.
There's no reason
to.
And
so I took that fight, came out of retirement, and then I've been with finishers ever since. Elevation is definitely always going to hold a special place to me, but I'm happy here. And finishers is doing right by me, and I'm very lucky to train. And I think I've gotten a lot better. Zach's been putting a ton of work into like helping me actually think of why I'm choosing to do these tactics, or being smart and applying actual things we're learning instead of just moving around.
That's awesome. Actually, that's a perfect segue into this question, because this is something I was thinking of asking you on the way here. What is the difference between ramping up for like an MMA fight? Like, what's your training regimen versus like an MMA fight? Like, or maybe I said that first. What's the difference between jiu-jitsu and MMA? Like ramping up, like what are you doing differently? I'm curious.
You really,
the mentality.
Oh God, everything is different. I mean, you really have so much more things that could happen in MMA. I mean, obviously you have to be skillful set, like it's a vast varieties, or be very good at something and pulling it off better than somebody else. Mm-hmm. I think you have to recognize when you have to change your game plan, recognize when it's not working, and all within 5 minutes all by yourself, and your corner gets, a minute with you. But if it's only 3 rounds, you have 2 of those little talks in between the 3 rounds, so you have to be able to recognize what's working, what's not working. And I mean, the whole thing's different. You have to go from striking to ground to your cardio has got to be much better. I mean, at most in jiu-jitsu, usually I have only had like a 10-minute match, and it's much, much different. I'm not concerned with strikes. I haven't done combat jiu-jitsu, so I haven't opened that window. I mean, I think I would do well at it if Eddie Bravo wants to put me on. No, I'm just kidding. Or anybody.
Shout out.
But
EBI's back, right?
I know,
come on, baby, what's good?
I'm ready. No, but I mean, like, it's a total different mental game. Obviously, there's game planning in both, and I take both very seriously. And
do you do the same kind of conditioning with like your cardio and stuff for both? Even
I think
like
there's
the dieting
similar
and
things
stuff?
that I do, but I definitely ramp it up much more. And there's an undeniable truth that you're going to probably get hurt in MMA. I always have. I mean, I've always gotten hurt big time, and maybe I'm just not a good fighter, but like, it's just, there's more risk. Obviously you can break a bone in jiu-jitsu, but I mean, you're eliminating half of the problem of strikes, kicks to the face, knees, elbows. I mean, when you take a knee straight to the face, you definitely are aware that can happen. And I mean, as you can get one randomly in jiu-jitsu in a move, but it's not the same threat.
It's not like, there's a difference between like an intentional knee versus an accidental one, 100%.
And it's just, I mean, like, somebody's going in there trying to kill you, and usually you become friends after, sometimes not. But I mean, just a sharp elbow, a cut on the face, like breathing through your own blood. I had an eye poke that like sealed my eye for a long time. And it's just, those things don't happen the same in jiu-jitsu. It's like, when I fight jiu-jitsu, I'm very serious and I plan and I condition, but I feel safer. A lot
it's almost,
safer.
I think there's a certain, I feel I was talking to another MMA fighter. Maybe you can talk a little bit about like what goes on in like behind the scenes there, but it's like the difference between like what goes behind the scenes in like a fight to win sort of event versus like an MMA event is the people are insane sometimes in an MMA event. Like, there's actually like some unhinged people that are there, and like they think
the fans too.
I'm sure.
But you're trying to kill their baby. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, they've been watching this person. They think their person's a golden child. The person thinks they're a golden child. They've got every one of their friends, because a lot of times the promoters, like, you have to sell tickets to make your money, or you get that bonus if you sell this many tickets. So they're like making sure that everybody knows they're fighting on that day. They're, you know, there's a lot of belief in yourself in it. And it goes to both sports. Don't think I'm like saying it's not like you have to believe in yourself in jiu-jitsu. It's just an intensity level that you can't recreate anywhere. I mean, nobody's going to front kick you in the face. Nobody's going to knock you out like that in jiu-jitsu. And they're, again, these people love you and they idolize you. You're in prime shape, or should be, you know, in your best shape. And you're trying to do the same to them. So there is this like, our fighter rules. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Their bellies are painted. There's so much weird shit.
There's an interesting chivalry about the tap, though. Like in jiu-jitsu, it's like this a mutual, like, I talk about this with boxing, actually. Mm-hmm. I've discussed this with some of my friends at box, and in jiu-jitsu, I think a big piece of why longevity is such a big staple of jiu-jitsu is because when we are sparring in jiu-jitsu versus boxing, I'm putting the responsibility in your hands for whether or not you get injured, because I'm going to put you in something dangerous, but when you tap, I let go. It's your responsibility to tap.
Yeah.
When we're boxing, I have to pull my punches not to hurt you.
Right.
So it puts the onus on the other person, you know?
I mean, even when you walk into like a strictly MMA gym, which jiu-jitsu is there and everything like that, but there's like a different culture in MMA.
Can you describe it a little bit?
I mean, there's a lot of respect, a lot of camaraderie in jiu-jitsu. Even, you know, it depends who your leader is.
Of course.
Always. And who you are. You know, I think that though, you know, you're not just given a blue belt and you're not just given a purple belt. You're definitely not just given a brown belt unless somebody's just trying to make you do something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I find it very, very hard to get these things. And you have to like develop your character. A lot of these people as black belts, especially now that there's so much media and stuff behind these things, they're not just going to be like, oh yeah, you know, I saw you do a shrimp the other day, your shrimp's looking real good, here's a blue belt, or here's a purple belt. And you have to go through quite a bit of character development, and that's like huge. But you do see white belts in MMA. You know, they're wrestlers that think they can beat everybody, like you just described.
Yeah.
And they're not saying anything against wrestling. It's super hard. But like your construct is based a little bit different. And so that I can beat fucking anybody in the world is differently gloated. I don't really know how to break it down because each gym's got its own culture.
Of course, yeah.
But it's just like overall, I think that when you're like strict jiu-jitsu, you're just built up a little bit more like, when am I going to get that stripe? And then it's like, I don't care about the stripe. I care about my growth. And then like where in MMA is like, when do I get my chance to be a fighter? I don't know. Overall, you know what I mean? Like I even had to go through these learning experiences. So it's just a respect culture. And there's a window that you can perform MMA, whether you go past it and you go longer. I mean, you know, or you didn't do enough before you got in there or whatever.
Yeah, it makes sense. Age is a very important thing. I just turned 30, so I'm in master's old man brackets now.
I am definitely there.
Yeah, so I can definitely relate to that final sentiment you shared there. Can I ask you what your opinion is on what makes a good MMA gym? Like, what are some qualities that you look for personally that you think make a strong, maybe training environment or even team? I
think your leader recognizing their fighter is huge, and your leader having the knowledge and like experience going through that, having other people, like it's a community for sure. I do think my opinion isn't the only opinion that matters, but I think it's a lot to do with the training partner, the time the fighter puts in, you know, not just like lift this person up because they like, you have to really put in time. And the people around you matter. And of course, you need to have a lot of ego and attitude towards like, I'm a winner, and your mindset. But there's like so many other things, like the mindset practice, like where are we touching base, reiterating drills, and not only following them into fruition in class. You have to watch what happens in sparring, and you have to make sure that you're sparring the right people. You know, I can't just be against, just because I'm good doesn't mean I'm going against the biggest person in the gym. You know, like somebody that complements your sparring, somebody that grows you as a person, but you're also growing them back. A ton of time. And I really just think that there's so many options. You got to pick a good leader, somebody that's looking out for you, but can also encourage you to be confident. You definitely need a lot of confidence. And is also willing to be like, hey, you two, knock it off. Let's separate. You need to go with this person. You need to go with this person. Not just beat the crap out of this person. Or no, there's not one person that's important. It's all of it. And I don't know if there's one thing or something that makes it better over the other. I do know I've been in bad MMA gyms and recognize that I'm like, oh, I don't want to go back here.
Yeah.
I don't like the way they run things. I don't like,
Yeah. Can I ask, maybe not like what these gyms are or anything, but can you point out like some qualities that were like maybe red flags for other people?
For sure.
Maybe watching,
like, like if you can very easily just become somebody to be beaten up and they're not worried about your growth. They're
the
like,
new punching bag
yeah.
kind of person.
And they'll just run through you. They'll tear you up. There's so many things. First of all, there's a lot of people that use their position of power. Like a lot of people, like as a white belt, they have never seen like somebody be so good at something, and then they're like idolizing this person for no reason. They'll listen to almost anything they say.
Yeah.
Being a woman,
I think that's like a big thing. Like I don't know if you've ever been like on the Jiujitsu Reddit, but people are always like, don't ever like listen to black belts for other things other than Jiujitsu. They're not an expert in real life kind of thing.
And they kind of get this like persona like they are because they're in this safe room where everybody's listening in front of them. They get to stand in front of you.
They can say anything,
It's just like, I think it's just like, if you feel it's not good, it might not be good. And if you're just a punching bag so somebody gets better, they're taking your membership to, but then everyone is ran so differently. I think if you see a red flag, there's enough outlets to definitely point it out, but it's sometimes hard to like say some of these without definitely pointing out some of these.
I appreciate the information you've given. I think that definitely says it enough. There's something to be said about like a gut feeling.
Yeah.
And especially in such a primal environment that has any kind of martial art,
Yeah.
If you're feeling like you're being like taken advantage of.
That's
not a good feeling.
Some things are just not growth worthy experiences. Some things are used to maybe make them better. I don't really know. Like, I've moved around a lot, and it's hard to find a home that you really love, but it's not as hard as it used to be. So
things are quality control's getting around.
Yeah.
I think it reminds me, interestingly enough, I think some people are looking to be that punching bag kind of thing. Like maybe they're a casual that's learning MMA or something. And I can give an example. I remember when I was a white belt in Jiu-Jitsu, and it was like the winter, and a lot of guys that were about my skill level had gone like to school or something, and I was like probably one of the worst guys in the gym. And I remember that like for at least a month, I was getting destroyed by every guy like in open training. And I remember that is the time when my defense got insanely good, and I hadn't like lost by submission since that like era of my like time. And it's interesting to think about that stuff because for some people it's stunting their growth for sure, and maybe even building a complex that they are a lesser person. But for me, I was using it as a time to go, if this guy's not putting me in a north-south choke, I'm not tapping any north-south choke. Like if it's not as good as
There's
his,
always
I know
that too. Like I trained with this person, so I know I can beat this person.
I know what a good one's supposed to feel like. So there's merit to that.
I agree with you in that too. Like I've definitely taken a harder route than I should have.
Yeah.
And I've definitely been like, I'm big, I should fight this big person.
Yeah.
And, I mean, there is some to that, but I think to a degree you got to recognize like,
you got to know your own self too.
It goes, MMA is such a beast. Like,
it is for sure. I think it's a way different animal than jiu-jitsu too. It's like I can hardly compare myself.
I mean, I get beat up by people that are less experienced than me, but are more experienced in other things. And I mean, sometimes I have to take a step back and be like, okay, I'm going to get a new sparring partner today just to grow on me for a minute. I'll come back to him in a minute. Not that I'm avoiding this person that's better than me ever or something. I'm just trying to like make my skill set improve so I have something to
bring
again
back
be challenging.
to the table, of course.
I think some of those things you actually have to go through the whole experience to learn. I had a professor in Denver tell me, I was like, do you think I should call this person and tell them they're being ridiculous? And he's like, Brittney, how did you find out that this was a ridiculous behavior? And I was like, well, it happened to me. And they're like, it probably has to happen to them. They'll probably never take the information in themselves until they experience the experience. And then they can sit back and have some hindsight to it. And
Yeah, I personally, I am the type of temperament that I learn best from making mistakes.
I do
so,
too.
you know, I can relate to you 100% in that capacity. And I think that that's some good coach wisdom where you can listen to that. But sometimes like you'll see like an unsafe environment. Like I remember I was running like a jiujitsu club out of like a parkour gym. And I remember I was just like, hey, open mat, we'll just let everyone train it. And there was 2 inexperienced people going. And I'm like, all right, I'm never letting this happen again under my watch.
But you learned that through your experience.
It's like now I know. Now I know you're not supposed to do that.
I think you need to be aware that it's a combat sport. Things will happen. You might get hurt. You sign the waiver. There's probably a waiver because you might get hurt.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And
people's egos are different than their temperament. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I have one. I definitely have an ego. It sometimes gets the best of me. So I'm still working on myself all the time. But yeah.
I think it's very powerful that someone as, you know, prominent as you can even say that you identify that there are flaws in your character and you are working through them.
Yeah.
I think that is a huge advantage you might have against some other people who think that, you know, they're the shit. You know?
I thought I was the shit too.
Yeah.
I really did.
You need to kind of discover these things. I remember there was a time when I thought I was a good guitar player, and then I started playing with like some of the best ones I've ever played with before, and I'm like, holy shit, I don't know how to play guitar.
Yeah, I definitely.
You can relate in any capacity to those things.
Oh yeah, I definitely am like, what am I doing? And I'm this deep in it, so it definitely. You learn as you go, and I think if you keep like, I know everything. Like sometimes black belts think they know everything, you know, or sometimes white belts think they do too.
Oh yeah, blue belts are the worst.
They're like telling you what's going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I definitely have to take a step back and just realize that I'm just going through a growing moment, and I hadn't seen this before, or I've seen it before, and I'm still failing at it, so I have to change.
Yeah.
I think I've grown a lot this year, so we'll see what happens next year.
What do you think is a big facet of your growth journey that is like a big thing that you can identify? Like, this is really good that this happened. And I'm like, so it's like a, you know, that moment of clarity that you had this year.
I think some public humiliation really makes you look inward.
For sure.
Like, and I've definitely been publicly humiliated, and I'm not going to say I'm not over it. I sometimes personally cry I'm vulnerable sometimes.
We all are, you know?
But it makes me recognize or forcing myself to watch my losses and see where I messed up and not just be like, I hate myself. I just went through a huge growth moment this year because it was really hard to lose that fight to Clarissa, especially with how much shit she talked about me and to me and all that. I mean, it's not fun. I mean, but that's part of MMA culture too, is to be like, oh, I'm fucking better.
You need to win the brain battle sometimes. Those head games
those head games can really stick with you. I mean, a loss is a serious depression. I think a loss in MMA hurts worse than a loss in jiu-jitsu. It's easier to bounce back from.
Yeah, I think it's way more primal when strikes are involved. You know, I'm sure you've done this with someone fresh in an MMA thing, but even. We were discussing this in my gym for jiu-jitsu the other day. We had a cop come in, and it's interesting because he's been like on the force for a while, and once we got on the mat with him, it's just crazy that we're destroying a cop right now, you know. And it's one of those things where when you realize like you can make this person that, you know, maybe has like that chip just feel so vulnerable, and just, you know, there's something primal about like knowing like, oh my God, I have so much power here. I can end this like person right now. You know, in MMA, it's got to be way more like.
Well, the mat's an equalizer, right?
100%.
So like you can have all walks of life walk on there, and they walk off and they go back to their persona job or whatever they do. I mean, I'm a bartender, and I can beat up a lot of cops.
Everyone that comes in there.
Because I have a lot of cop friends. Yeah. But I mean, like, it gives you the opportunity to be vulnerable, but also be powerful. And that skip and a jump sometimes is easy, and sometimes it takes 4 years, you know, and it's an interesting thing that it's served me a great purpose and character. I look at people a lot different. I definitely value all my experiences of that, because it's really, I look back at the girl they found in the beer garden, and, you know, I was flexing and telling gun rack jokes, and, you know, now I'm like...
It's like, you got a permit for those guns?
Yeah, no, I think the joke I told Spencer Fisher, I was like, do you know what this is? He's like, no. And I was like, gun rack. Some stupid joke.
That's soft stuff.
It's some stupid joke.
You got to walk around saying, you know, they don't let me put my hands in my pockets because they'll catch me with assault, like a concealment of a deadly weapon.
It's so stupid and cheesy, but I mean, those are the best.
I love those lines.
Yeah, dad jokes of jiu-jitsu.
Absolutely. So I'm curious a little bit about like what's to come. So we obviously have ADCC coming up.
Trials.
Who is in? I think confirm this. Maybe I'm wrong, but I was looking through your Instagram. It looked like Kat Zingano's in this
She was
bracket.
on West Coast too, or East Coast. I'm sorry. I'm like all over the place.
Yeah.
She was on East Coast too, and I've known Kat for a long time. We didn't talk that day. We're both from Denver, or were.
Oh wow, I did not know that.
Before all of her traumatic things that happened in Denver with her family, she was, and she still is. I mean, she's made a huge name for herself. She's fought everybody too.
Yeah.
But she was like the local hero for the women's MMA. She was an idolized girl. She was in the tournament. She was in wrestling. And she was with Fight to Win a little bit. She was very close with Seth. So that's how I got to know her.
I did not even know that.
Her and Seth were like brother and sister for a while. And Seth was really there for her when she went through her tragedy. As far as I know, they're still great friends. But you got Maggie Gernati, Kendall Roosing, me, Jaden Mueller just signed up, or I think she's been in, but she's in the heavyweights, which is crazy to see.
I'm curious about that, because the male weight brackets are way different than the females.
Yeah,
there's only like two, right?
There's only two.
What are the weights?
I think you have to be under 145 or above 145, if I remember right. It might even be under 135. I never will make those weights again, so I don't even look at them.
Yeah.
But it is stacked, and it's some serious competition. It's the best in the world going out there trying to beat the best in the world,
100%.
or best in America. Excuse me.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to say the world, but they will be. And it's awesome, because you don't find competition like that, and you really get to test yourself. There's a build up to it. And I was lucky enough that I'll be competing in both trials. So I get a second chance to try to get in there.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean?
What do you think was the biggest hurdle of your most previous attempt here?
Kendall.
Yeah.
Kendall is definitely, a gamer, and she's been in the sport since she was young. She's young still. She's, I think, got a lifestyle that leads her to just do her sport every day. And that's who I look at the hardest. Tara White's in there. Tara White just represented the United States in, I believe, jiu-jitsu, but like U.S. grappling in Europe. And then all of them have done well in the IBJJF circuit. All of them have fought in super fights. All of them are so experienced. You can't take one for granted and look at only the top that you are worried about. I'm looking at every single bracket till I get to the top. You know what I mean? And 100%. I hope to get there. So my person that has stopped me most is Kendall, but you have Elizabeth Clay in there. You have, and she's got a nasty rubber guard and go plot a heel hook too, and like, it's like, plan for everybody and don't take anybody for granted, because
100%.
Everybody down to even the lighter weights, like Jaden, I think comes pretty close to that line. But I think you have to make weight both days. So like these things come in, if you get to the finals, I believe you have to make weight again if you were in the under one, or, I'm again, not in the smaller girls, so I don't worry about that. I get to be whatever I want. I won't eat French fries that day.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I can't name enough names to tell you that bracket is stacked, and I'm glad and proud to be one of the women in it. Sometimes I think I get overlooked, and I'm cool with that. I'm like,
well,
what?
I think we just saw an underdog who won the finishers qualifier for Emerald City, Kieran Kichuk, like he just dominated some of the best around.
It's incredible.
It was insane.
And that's how
Nobody
you
was
know there's
expecting
good
him.
gyms.
Yeah.
It must be fun to like watch all this as
Oh yeah, dude. Oh my god, I was like, it's crazy. Some of our camera guys do jujitsu, and we're just saying like, oh man, you see that entry? I gotta try that later. And you obviously know if you were running like the camera for Fight to Win, you just look at stuff and go, oh man, that was actually.
My favorite thing was when I finally got to sit at the camera, because that was like the first time in the weekend I would get to sit. I'd be like, thank God I'm on the camera now, and I would just get to watch the sport I love. So.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's very incredible to be able to witness greatness in front of you, you know. And you know what's even greater for me with the podcast project that I have here is I have the unique ability where maybe I feel like the walls are kind of coming down. There's not so much like of this like you can't train with this gym kind of thing. Like that's definitely like falling to the wayside in the modern jiu-jitsu culture.
I agree.
And for good reason. But for me, myself, I get to get invited so many different places to train with these guys, and I get destroyed by all of them.
Yeah,
but it's awesome. It's
then,
so
like,
cool that I get to feel out like, oh yeah, I know what good jiu-jitsu from 10th Planet feels like. I know what good like Henzo training feels like, you know, and I get to kind of feel out, you know, some of the best in the world. Like I've rolled with like at Studio 84, like there's so many crazy you know, Nicky Rod in there, and like all these crazy, you know,
I mean, you really can go to any state and find one of the best in the world.
Of course.
You know,
it's crazy. And I think the East Coast, like I'm spoiled for sure, but in like the tri-state area here, there is some insane talent, like relative to the entire world.
I agree.
You know, and we're definitely blessed to be in the mix of that. So
well, everybody's always growing here too, so they're like, oh my God, did you see that heel hook? But look at this heel hook. Or oh my God, did you see that toe fold? But look at this toe fold.
You know, he showed him that.
Yeah. He quit jiu-jitsu because of that. Heel. So it's like it's a fun following, and it just continues to grow. And now that we're out of all the restrictions and mandates and all that stuff at the moment.
At the moment. Fingers crossed.
I better shut up. But we just, being this deep in it, I'm so glad I started when I did. You know, thank you, Spencer Fisher. Thank you, Matt DeWolf, for finding me in that beer garden and leading me down the path. I don't know if I would have, you know, who knows where you end up if you don't go towards that butterfly effect. So it's 100%. Neat. It's really neat.
I'm looking forward to a lot of the new things. So I'm curious, what are some things that you've been gravitating toward in your training? Like I know in 10th Planet, one of the last roles I had there was with Sid.
Oh, I love him.
Yeah, I love
He's
Sid.
A wonderful guy.
He's a great guy. He caught me in a honey stick.
Oh, okay.
Tap me, that guy. So I know the Leglock Meta over there.
Yeah.
You guys are pretty on fire. So I'm curious, like, what are some things that you've been focusing on lately in your training?
Laura and I, because Laura's also
Laura's
my
a
size.
beast.
Yeah, she is a beast. It's very rare to find a woman at the same height, weight. I mean,
perfect training partner.
You know, she's a perfect training partner. So we've been trying to meet Thursdays and Fridays, really working on overtime. And then and I, she's with Thor, I'm with Zach. So we both have somebody to come, like, this is what I want to drill, this is what you want to drill. And we take, we do drills with each other after we do the class, we do the roll. We try to catch at least 2 to 3 rolls on each night we're together, 2 times a week. And the only reason I haven't the past month is because of my car. Yeah. But then me and her each made a promise to each other to bring something to the table. And so she is doing her research, what she wants to come and drill. Nice. We run through it with each other's body. A couple times I'm like, oh shit, I've never seen that before. And then I come and I'm like, you know what? I need to work on my snap downs. I need to work on my defense, on my takedowns. So then she'll do it to me. And
that's awesome to have a training partner like that that's dedicated to the craft and taking your growth journey as seriously. Yeah.
I'm really working on, because of 10th Planet too, I want to be much more knowledgeable on all leg attacks. I'm a very upper body attacker, and it's helping. And then
what's your opinions on like the Leglock Meta in MMA? I know there's a lot of mixed feelings about that.
I mean, what works, and if you get the entry, woohoo, you know what I mean? Like I love jiu-jitsu. Yeah, I want to see it always. You just got to be careful to, it is an exposing moment, and if it happens, take it. If not, hopefully you get out, and hopefully you don't have something that happened to like Gary. I love him so much, and you know, we learn from each other. We learn where people expose themselves, and I feel like I love that. You know, they're happening, and I love how much they happen. But it's unfortunate when other things happen.
I mean, you can't win them all, right?
Yeah.
Like, I know Gary Tonen's a huge hero for a lot of the guys I was training with.
Such a great guy
in the midst of COVID. I was, when a lot of gyms were getting shut down, there was a lot of like underground open mats, and that's how I kind of figured out who Gary Tonen was.
Okay.
Because a lot of these guys were like, "Oh, check this video out! Like the heel hook's working in like an MMA." And I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know that was a thing at all."
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
Gary was always awesome. He was on Fight to Wins, and that's how I met him. And then he's a great representative. He's funny. He's knowledgeable.
Yeah, his Instagram's hilarious.
He's intelligent. So he's not just like some dude spouting off trash, but he can spout off trash too. So he's personable, and he's a great person. So it's hard to watch a loss to a great person, but I mean, I've also lost some pretty big things too. And you'll have a troll, even if you're the best person in the world. You know, they love watching you lose, and they're there with you in their wins, and they're hugging you and getting a picture when they're with you and on an Instagram account that's not real, when they're not. So I love seeing the heel hooks anytime. I'm not an expert. I'm probably not going to pull one in MMA. It's a vulnerable moment for other exposing things, and you know,
I feel that. Yeah, I think that's a very realistic perspective to take on it. Honestly, I enjoy lately. I've been doing some rounds in my gym. I'm not an MMA fighter, but we have some MMA gloves. So we'll do this thing where we'll kind of strike at like, 30, 40% or 50% or something. And we'll roll at 100% though. So like we're kind of hitting to like kind of show like, oh, you're exposed here. So you kind of cover to react. And it's just to kind of give myself an idea of what it looks like to involve striking in jiu-jitsu. And it's crazy how vulnerable you are in some jiu-jitsu positions for striking. And like, I don't respect mount in jiu-jitsu at all until they're striking.
Well, the other thing is too, I think some jiu-jitsu players don't respect or think they can beat up anybody until they get hit, and then you watch them kind of shell up because that's not what they're used to. So it goes, it's the striking opens up.
Yeah, for sure.
It's one of my favorite things to do, but
Can you tell me like one of your favorite stories of, even if it was like maybe in the training room, you don't have to like drop a name of a training partner or something, but maybe one of the coolest things that you pulled off like with like your MMA stuff?
I just love beating up people that think I'm going to be an easy round. I get a lot of the dudes that like see me and they're like, I'll take, because a lot of times there's less women in the room than men. Like Elevation has a great women's team. It's large, and sometimes the women outnumber the men. Like, I mean, these things happen, but I love it when they see me. I'm like the only girl in class. It's some MMA fighter that's got the ego from MMA and all these things, and they often know who I am, but they're like, oh, I'll take Britt. I need to round off, and I give them everything I can. I make sure that they never think of me as a round off.
Yeah, you're not the rest roll.
Yeah, and like,
don't insult me.
Personal things like that I take very. I mean, there's that ego, that character ego that I'm working on.
I think that's a good time to let the ego out.
Yeah,
I'll let the monster out. If someone calls me a rest roll, I'm like, all right, we'll see who's the fucking.
You can feel it when they come up to you like, oh, I'll take Britt, I guess, and I'm like, oh, you're gonna fucking take it. You know what I mean? Like, so I love beating up people that think that I'm not going to be a challenge, and I love it. Yeah. So I'm here to.
I think that's a pretty popular kink to have. Like
for
martial artists.
Let's go. I also Zach's pointed this out to me before in class. Yeah. Like I laugh at people when they get me good. I'll be like, ha, and like so I throw them off.
That's funny.
I'll come at them right away. Or if they're turning it up, I turn it up back. And I mean, these aren't always great outcomes. I might be the problem.
Yeah, 100%. I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's not a unique habit to have to match the energy of your rolling partner. I think you're probably in the majority of people, especially someone who's an active competitor. I feel like that's a natural thing.
I might not have the greatest memery because like I always think of things after these things are over, but I definitely like.
You're gonna text me later like, oh,
you know what was my best time?
We'll have to do this again. I'm gonna write these down. Oh, that's awesome.
But I like getting a good boop on people or a takedown that they're not expecting. I like to think I'm good at takedowns. Sometimes I have low self-esteem on them and I won't go for them for like 2 months, and then I'll all of a sudden pull out 4 in a spar, you know, and I love getting somebody that thinks they're awesome down.
You ever get like a good fireman?
I don't really go for the fireman. No? I do a great double leg in MMA, and I kind of have an awkward movement because I'm not really the best striker ever, but like I try to fake them out a little, and then I go and I run hard, and a lot of times I don't expect it from me. So those are my favorites.
Yeah. Awesome.
And just holding them where they can't do shit.
Yeah. Like that, the Dagestani pin
I'm
thing.
Like, you can't do anything. And then the coach will be like, okay, get up. It's like, I would have won.
Yeah. It's like, it would have been a bloodbath right now. That, right? Before I get up, like acknowledge this right now.
Yeah. This just happened. I was at a different gym, and I creamed the Nogi class. It wasn't an MMA class, but I creamed a class, or the people in the class. I didn't hurt them, but I left a mark, we'll say. Yeah, I was working hard because I'm getting ready for some stuff. Yeah. And then I went and refilled my water bottle, and I walked next to the men's room, and they're like, Brittney murdered me today. I heard him in the room, and I'm like,
yes. Destroy.
Yeah,
so I'm curious a little bit, like you mentioned Zach, so you have a former UFC fighter doing the MMA program at Finishers. So what's it like having someone who's like been in the game and it has like made a name for themselves, like running that program? Like, do you feel obviously like you're a little closer to him than anyone else?
I mean, at Elevation, I worked with UFC fighters all the time. I mean, Curtis, Neil, Drew, Gaethje, I trained with Rose before she left 303. I trained with all these guys, so I'm used to.
Oh, Rose was there when you were there?
I got to. Pat was one of my friends from Grudge. Pat was one of my coaches. Justin Salas. I mean, I've worked with all these UFC fighters. They're just friends. Yeah. But Zach has a great intelligence of it. He's been all over the world, not just in the country. So he's really opens up a lot of like thoughts and like things to think about, and then he's great at game planning. He's good at communication, so like he'll sit down and talk to you after about like what are the things that you're gonna try to pull off in this. This is what you're good at. I think this is what you should try. And he's good at recognizing when you need to change the game plan up. And I think just he also reviews all the tape. If you
like if you're ramping up for a fight, he'll do that. That's awesome. And that's really good for a coach to do that.
Yeah, he's like, if you want to film this, and send me the film. And I know for a fact, because we've sat there at his house and watched the amateurs coming up down to the pros, and he's just watching the film, and he's like, he'll even so much zoom in on, let's say we have an amateur or something on the team coming up. He'll watch the amateur first that sent the video, and then he'll watch somebody in the background. He's like, see what's going on here. And then he'll comment to them. He's like, this is what I want to see you try to work on. This is where I think that you would be strong. And I think just being able to communicate like that directly to your team helps, everybody overall. And then just obviously any experience on the bigger shows and all the things that they put you through, like media week, and how to be able to be composed in these moments or not be composed in these moments, whatever. He just has a lot of good insight. And then as a whole, I think it just really is coming together well.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'm curious. I've never taken one of his classes. I know there's a guy that trains there now. His name's Jesse. I don't know if you've ever.
I do know Jesse. Yeah, he's awesome. He's great.
I love that
He's
guy.
a great wrestler. Yeah. And his brother Dave just won on CFFC.
I did not know that.
I believe it was in Atlantic City.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think last weekend.
I was not aware of that. I haven't been to Finishers in a while. I have to come back up.
Yeah, come say hi.
I remember. Yeah, I definitely will. But I trained with Jesse a bunch, and I saw him there doing the class with Zach. And I've never taken Zach's class, but I'm excited to maybe try it one day. And I'm curious, what are some things that stand out about his class to you that make it feel world class? Because I know Jesse speaks very highly of him.
I think that jiu-jitsu, you have like a lot of looks. He was a D1 wrestler at Drexel, so he understands wrestling and the importance of wrestling, but he also understands like some things don't work for this, some things work better for MMA. He also studies boxing. He's like a huge boxing fan, so he takes striking into super like boxing tactics. And then like coming full circle and applying them all. I think really it's his intelligence of the sport as a whole and that he's like a super fan too. So he's watching all the fights. He's watching Canelo. He's watching this person. He's watching the wrestlers in NCAA. He's watching this. And he's like, this is what's working. This isn't working. And his ability to communicate it and then recognize what his fighters are able to do in those moments. And then he also like, he's like, these are some of the outcomes that an opponent like you're up against might try to pull off, and then like able to also communicate.
So
like,
he can identify your style.
I
really
feel,
well.
and then
awesome.
it's really funny if you have him be like, okay, do me, and then he'll try to do me, and they'll make my weird moves.
Yeah, that's so
like,
funny. Like to mimic it, like you're a Mortal Kombat character.
It's like not funny in the moment. I'm gonna tell you, I'm like, oh my god, I'm never fighting again. Then look at me.
That's
but
so
yeah,
funny.
you know, we're all vulnerable in our moments like that, and you know, if you're able to take in information that somebody's offering, and like, I think he's able to do that, you know. But I think to be a competitive coach, you have to be, and a lot of these coaches are doing all this same stuff, and it's just how you can direct that to your fighter. And I mean, coaches all over the country and world are doing the same game. So we're all trying to one up somebody and think we're smarter than them, and we all think we're on the best team. And you know, I think Zach's doing good for our group, and then me and one of the fighters just started doing extra drills on Fridays, and now we have a group of 7 or 8 that are meeting in that group. And like, I think as a whole, you know, having a strong leader meeting there, watching your drills and trying to develop these skills and being a part of it on their time off too really adds. And I think he does that good.
Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing.
I might be
that.
just a little bit biased.
Biased, just a little bit.
Just a little biased, but
that's really cool. So obviously you have the background of like the bartender thing. So I kind of want to talk about like some bar stuff too.
Sure.
Like, what's your favorite drink?
I am a beer girl only.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah?
used
Tell
to
me
be
about
heavy into liquor. And I just kind of decided to cut that out because I wake up in the bathtub. You know, I just always unmanageably, I'm like, I am addicted personality, you know? So like if I buy a bottle, I finish it. And the same thing goes for IPA. If I buy a 12-pack, I'm finishing it all. I'm a snob a little. I have a preference of IPAs and pales.
What's your favorite thing in Pennsylvania? Do you have a favorite beer?
Oh man, my favorite beer ever is the Ninja versus Unicorn from Pipeworks out of Chicago.
Okay,
so I'm gonna just like it's like so good. I drink like 1,000 of them. I don't know. Lately I've been going with I haven't really like, I've just like what's on tap. New Trail, Funk Brewing. There's like a lot of good beers in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh my god.
You like Victory beers?
Brotherly Love is all right. I'm not the I will drink Victory beer. Nothing against Victory.
All the Monkeys are like some of my favorite beers, I think.
Okay. I definitely, when I first got here, I'm like, Victory.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's so many options. There's great beer all over this. And I mean, it's all the East Coast has tons and tons of great beer. So it's like I basically will try anything if it says IPA, and I'll be like, ooh, this one's not for me. You know, I don't like the darks, like the black IPAs. I sometimes like stout, but then I'm like, most of the time I won't pick it. You know,
I'm a fan. Yeah.
It just,
I'm with that.
I'm just
I'm a lager
a snob.
guy.
I'm a snob.
Yeah, I
little
appreciate
snobby.
it. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a good like bar story of like maybe like a fight that happened? Do you ever have to break up a fight?
So I've been in bars long enough. I've been involved in things that I don't want to be. I usually just let them fight.
Yeah. Can you share a story?
I worked at this bar in Denver called the Hair of the Dog, and I was NAR bar, but everybody came, and it was like a local NAR dive, you know. And I hate fighting in bars. I hate trying to get involved. Everybody's trying to show that they're an MMA fighter in a bar, or they can do something. So instead, I usually let them fight until they're tired. First of all, I'm like, it'll be over soon. And I know that's terrible, but I'm sick of it.
Yeah.
And I've been bartending since I was 21.
It's not your job to. You're not the bouncer.
I would just fill up my ice buckets, and I'd fill them up with water and ice. And if they melted, great. I didn't have a problem. But if they didn't, I just pour water on them. Everybody gets pissed when you pour water on them, and it stops the fight.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
that's a good strategy.
Yeah, I kept them behind, because a lot of times in those smaller bars, you're your own bartender. Maybe not. I was. I was always alone.
Yeah.
At the hair of the dog, and I just fill buckets of ice water and I just throw it on them, and or I'd spray them with the gun with Sprite.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Oh
Sprite.
God, they get so,
funny.
pissed. I usually don't try. I'll tell you right now, I don't get involved unless somebody's getting really hurt. I just don't. I'm like, you guys got yourself into this. You're gonna lose your teeth here, you know. And I'm not gonna let somebody just get like a bully beat them up, you know, like, or somebody that doesn't like their race or the way they pick their lifestyle. I'm not gonna let those people get beat up. I will probably. Luckily, I haven't been involved in any of that. Yeah. But usually it's just two guys like, I'm mad. I'm madder. Yeah. And when you throw ice on them, they get pissed.
Yeah.
It's great. It's
Have you ever had to use like your MMA experience in a real life situation though?
Maybe I shouldn't have. But no, not like anything that comes to mind. I truly just avoid it. I really the only street fights I've been in personally were in high school.
Oh, so pre Femme Fatale
just me
status.
And like my friend were like, I like him, and I don't know. I can't really remember him. I remember me and my sister got in a fight, and all my friends were at a slumber party, and they thought I killed her. Then they all left. I come back out in the living room, and all my whole slumber party left because they thought I killed my sister. God. You know, I don't get in many fights. In my hometown, there's a couple of girls that have hated me since I was like 17 or something, and sometimes people want to prove like in those moments that like, oh, that's Brittney, I'll take her now, and like they're gonna do something.
They want to fight the biggest dog on the yard kind of thing.
I don't run into it much. I will say that sometimes when you have a fighter in the room, like myself or anybody that's a fighter, it like brings out an energy in the thing that they got to show off in front of this person. Like they're going to amp it up, and I let them. Yeah. It's like, whatever. I'm like, whatever. Yeah. I know that sounds like I'm a bad person, but I just don't interject myself into their situation.
I feel that though. Yeah.
I'm like, let them fight. Yeah. They'll figure it out. Maybe they'll come to class. I don't know.
I need a good story. Let's see what happens.
Just let it go. I don't like seeing people get beat up like, for nonsense reasons, but I also am not going to jump in the middle of bottles and all the other
you never
things.
know who's got a knife and stuff.
That, and I don't want to touch half these people. You know, like I'm like, ew, don't let me touch you. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel that.
Don't take my advice. Just let them fight. That's what I do.
That's just what you do. I feel that. Have you ever watched Street Beefs?
No,
but
now
you don't know
I feel like I need to.
I'll show you one after this. It's like these backyard unsanctioned like fights between like random people in like Georgia. It's hilarious.
I'm sure it's really legal. I'll watch it.
Yeah, there's a reason it's only in certain places. I just want to read through some of these comments, see if anyone has any questions for you. It looks like they're just kind of discussing some things on the podcast here.
I see that they said the $10 parking. That was a fun time. I definitely had. It was the worst job ever, but I have some great stories about it. And,
they're just bantering. Yeah, I always look for at the end of the sentence if there's a question mark. I'll zoom in on those with my eyes. But they're just talking. They're just chatting it up. Yeah, good stuff. Pretty cool stuff though. I'm curious as well. So we have ADCC coming up. And we have the about domestic violence stuff coming up. Are there other fighters that you're really interested in their journey that you kind of follow pretty intimately? Like who are you excited to see do some stuff coming up here?
I'm curious. I mean, PFL cut me, so I'm like a little scorned, but that's cool. I'm curious what's going to happen in that division. I mean, it's really neat to see the 55ers grow. I feel like, I mean, the more the merrier, and that gives me more options as a fighter myself in that division. Before it was like 55, what? You can't make 45, you know, like it was unheard of. Just like there's only 2 divisions in ADCC, hopefully there's 3 next year. I'm not particular. I would love a couple of rematches, but that's going to take some work to get. There's a promotion offering me a fight in May that we're talking, so I'm open to negotiating some things. I do realize that I don't have a wonderful pro record, but I've fought very, very top opponents. I think I'm I think when I fought Clarissa at the time, they told me that I was the only one that's fought 2 Olympian gold medalists in MMA. A lot of people have fought Olympic athletes, but nobody's fought 2 Olympic gold medalists. And I fought Kayla and Clarissa. So I've usually taken like fights. I was
you're
outmatched
testing yourself against the greats for sure.
And I just, I'm pretty open to negotiate and fighting basically anybody. Because I think you can have a chance. I'm going to try to work my way back up these next couple years. And if not, I'll just keep looking. But I don't have like a person that I'm like, I need to beat her. I have some fights that never happened. There was a fight. It just makes you curious what would have happened, especially now. But like, there was a fight that Josette Cotton missed weight on me by like 10 pounds, and the fight never happened. And she called me a pussy, but I made weight. You know what I mean? So I would like to revisit that. Even if we don't hate each other anymore. That was a long time ago. But I'm negotiating right now, and I predict there will be a future. And then if I want to go to another country and fight, I'm open to that too. We'll see. Maybe you'll be seeing something after ADCC, but I haven't.
Keep it on the radar.
I have nothing to announce yet.
Yeah,
so
fair enough.
Yeah.
Is there a matchup you'd like to see between 2 fighters?
I mean, it's always curious. There's always the chance that somebody can get that chance. I mean, I myself like felt hopeful that I could do these things, and I would like to see, I think everybody kind of wants to see Kayla and Chris Cyborg. I mean, that's always curious. Like things like the top is always fun to watch fight another top, but they're just signed somewhere else, and it's just a curious thing. And like,
they're signed somewhere else, right? That's like an interesting thing. I'm curious about the journey a little bit. So we can talk a little bit about the PFL thing, but how do you go from amateur MMA to pro MMA? Like, how does the logistical stuff behind the scenes look like to do that?
Well, the commissions in states sometimes limit your ability to like take a pro fight. Like I know Pennsylvania has a commission where it's like you're amateur, you're advanced amateur, and then they say, oh, you're allowed to take pro or not. What the commissioner gets to decide that.
Do you need like a number of fights in amateur?
I think sometimes they do make you do that. I think, and they pick, you want to say nobody picks a favorite, but it's like, why are you holding this person back? And then like you go somewhere like South Dakota, they're like, oh, you're a pro? Cool, let's go. Or like Wyoming too. And like, I think that if you're being held back by somebody, there's a limitless other option somewhere else. and you can stay behind the walls somebody else creates you, or you can jump over them and be willing to take
shortcuts
on.
If you go to
be
other
willing
states
to take on what you go against. Like now elbows and knees to the face that weren't allowed and one commissioner allowed, or now you're a pro. You're gonna go against another pro. You know what I mean? Like so, you those are things that I wasn't fully acknowledging when I was doing this, but somehow I made it out of the beer garden, an amateur, and I fought 2 Olympians on. I was a main event on ESPN one night, and I was at the Chicago Theater fighting Kayla's first fight, so like you can grow. And I had people help me, people speak for me, people do things for me, but basically all these fights came to me and I'm the one that said yes, and I found a way to make it happen. And then I used my networking things to help me be better and stronger. Seth helped me communicate. I pulled Missy into my corner. You have to be smart. Yeah. But sometimes you gotta be a little stupid to grow. You know what I mean?
No, I couldn't agree more. You gotta make some. What was the saying? You gotta if you want to make an omelet, you gotta break some eggs.
Yeah, and two, then I've heard people say, "Oh, they won't let me be pro, so I'm not willing to do it." It's like, well, who won't let you be pro? This commission won't let you be pro if you're not on on a injury ordered there's Texas and California. Everybody has a different rule set. Everybody has a different requirement of what is an advanced amateur or what is just an amateur. There's no ground and pound here until advanced amateur. You have to wear your shin guards until advanced amateur, where I never even heard of that till I moved here, and I think if you just kind of quit putting up barriers other people make for you, you can find other ways to do what you want. And if that's what you want, you will find a way.
Yeah. That's awesome. Can you tell me a little bit about like your journey? Like how many amateur fights did you have to do before you went pro officially?
I went 5-2 as an amateur. And then I decided when I was pro, and then I told my coach that I was going to take a pro match. And I guess he said, okay,
Yeah.
I did get hurt by coaches telling me that they didn't think I was good enough. I'm not saying I did everything right, but somehow I got here. I then would look for somebody that was willing to show me how to be the next thing. Like, and some people hold you back because of their own worries. And like, really, who's in the cage is you, and they're worried about you representing them wrong. You might not be ready.
Yeah.
How do you find out you're not ready? Well, it's the worst case scenario, I promise you. And you lose a few teeth or an eyeball or something, and these things can happen. So like, you have to want this. You are, Zach came out without minimal injuries usually, and he's very good at what he does. But I mean, that's not what my story is, and I've taken a lot of damage. So I don't know if there's a right way.
Yeah.
Like just show up. And you have to make decisions. You can't leave everything in other people's hands to decide for you if you're ready. Sometimes you just kind of have to get out there and find out you're not, and then back to the drawing board. And sometimes you get offers that you can't turn down. And then you leap bounds forward, and then you see you're way more able than you were holding your own self back. So I think you limit yourself to somebody else's expectation. You're going to always look for approval. And if you're like, no, I can do this, I'm confident, and it's just another person standing next to me, and if I lose a tooth, they can fix it. And I mean, I've broken the same arm 3 times. I've broken both my knees. I got a knee to the crotch in one of my fights. I got a cut like this big down there, that wide open boxer I cut. I've had huge cuts. I've lost teeth with knees to the face, but I'm still trying to get back in the cage, and so that's just, some people want it and will find a way, and they'll keep showing up to practice. And if they need somebody's approval to get in there, they're going to get it, if they want it. So it's a weird question, because there's not the same for everybody. Some people think that they should be in a pro match and they shouldn't. And somebody saying no is the smartest thing, so, but you won't stop them if they want in, so it's just,
they want that to be in the halls of Valhalla,
it's just,
they need that glory.
It's just, we learn from each other. And if you can't learn from yourself too, then I think you are stunting yourself. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, or I just don't allow people to stunt me, but I also can be my harshest critic. Yeah. And like, I'd be crying to Zach that I suck, and he's like trying to be like, you're great. You know what I mean? So it's like,
you need that balancing, of course. It seems like you have a pretty good way of finding, maybe like a supportive network isn't the best word, but you're finding the right people to surround yourself with. It seems like
you definitely have to
you have a good radar for it. Yeah, of course.
You definitely have to eliminate some. Yeah, I think just with experience, a lot of time in the game. I started in the wrong places, and I've been back there, and I've been somewhere else. I've met people that I thought were my friends, and they weren't. And then I've not trusted people that became my friends. I just know that ultimately it comes down to me. And when the cage door closes, it's just you, a ref, and another person. But you have to take everything you've learned to try to make that the best. And I don't always do that. I sometimes fail miserably. And then I've just really been a different version of myself, to where I'm trying to just like be like Brittney. I'm trying to be myself now, instead of like, did I do that good? Do you think I can? I think I was that person too, and yeah. I
feel that.
You grow up.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm getting old now, and I'm running out of time, so I'm like.
Yeah, it's interesting when you start hitting like these these things like an age, right? Like for me, like the masters division, like we were talking about this in my gym, like, cause we love to do battle at the beach, and like everyone in the gym goes. It's like, we're always talking about like, oh, what weight class are you doing this time? And my coach was like, yeah, I mean, now that you're a purple belt, like you're in the advanced, like you got to let me know what division you're doing. So I don't end up fighting you. And I'm like, we were discussing it. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm in the old man division now.
And you can't go back.
Yeah.
No, you can go back, but they can't come forward.
I guess young guys can't come up, but I imagine the old guys can go down.
They can. Yeah, I said that reverse.
Yeah.
But
I was just saying like, oh, don't worry about me now. Like I'm just gonna go destroy a bunch of knees on these old guys.
It's not true though.
I know,
the masters are tough.
I know, I'm sure.
Tough. I got my ass kicked there a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's us. The masters are fun though. You know,
it's a different like I'm gonna encounter like the old man strength. You know, instead of the young athleticism, it's gonna be a lot different. It's gonna be good. I think I'm excited for the new phase of my journey.
Good.
But I'm curious about like the PFL stuff. Can you tell me a little bit about what happened with that?
So you know, they couldn't find anybody to fight Kayla on her introduction to MMA. And I didn't know who Kayla was then. I was naive. And I do a lot more research about my opponents. I am proud that I took that match. I'm always proud of things like that. How cool to be her first of what? I think she's 11-0, 13-0. I don't know what the fuck she is anymore, but she's done amazing for herself. So Brianna Fasori, who has been a longtime friend of me, called me and said they can't find anybody to fight Kayla Harrison. And Seth knew who she was. And he's like, oh, because it's Kayla Harrison. And he's like yelling at me that I'm a retard. Yeah. And I was like, I took it. And then Seth kind of did some of the like management type communication for that. And then we settled on a number. Because I took that fight, Ray was going to give me a chance in the first thing, and then I broke my arm. And then he called me again for Clarissa, probably because I was such a terrible record. And I think truly they tried to bring these, I don't know. I'm not a huge Clarissa fan.
Yeah.
Maybe she'll grow into somebody I like later. But I don't love her right now. But
opportunity for growth.
Yeah. You know, but when they called for Clarissa too, I had been kind of like, I didn't even know what to say, because in my head I'd already been retired for almost 2 years after that. And then I said yes in a 10-minute phone call with Ray. He called me when I was running a door for an event, and I said yes. And
you were
then
wearing the gi and taking tickets again.
Yeah, it was something like that. I was at the will call, and I was like, excuse me, I have to step away, because I had his number saved in my phone. It came up Ray Sefo, and I was like, I have to answer this. And I took it, and then I think I had 9 weeks to get ready after taking 2 years off to fight Clarissa.
Yeah.
And then when I get out of the cage, Ray didn't tell me, but a couple of the PFL people were like, you're definitely going to be in the next tournament. So all year, all I did was prepare like I was going to be in the next tournament. And then right before they started announcing some things, I got an email, and they're like, we're going to let you go. So they let me go. I don't regret shit. I regret losing always. You know, it sucks. Never fun. And I cry in my sleep sometimes. I'm like, why couldn't I make it happen? Mm-hmm. But it gave me a lot of opportunity to find out more about myself. And I think I'm on a new direction in my mental again, that I'm getting over that. And it sucked seeing her lose to somebody else. And when I tried so hard to beat her, you know, it's always hard to watch somebody that you lost to lose to somebody else. And it's like, oh my God, I'm so bad at fighting. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, PFL is doing something good for the division, so I'm unfollow them, but yeah, cool. Yeah, that's funny. That's awesome. I'm proud of them for doing something for the division. I just don't want to always see me as a highlight getting my ass kicked. So I just was like, I need to remove this from my mental.
Of course.
And have a new path. And
I feel that. And speaking of a new path, I mean, you are the new finishers 170-pound champ. So it's a good way to flip the coin on the other side.
Hopefully I do well in ADCC too. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think you definitely are setting the stage for yourself to, you know, be a problem in the bracket.
Want to be a problem. That's That would be great. My mom always said I was.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm curious. Like, tell me a little bit about the finishers tournament. Like, what was your mindset going into that, and how did you stay sharp all the way to the top of the bracket?
Tons of. Oh, I didn't do a tournament. I just did a super fight.
Oh, it was just a super fight?
Because we were, so hopefully I get another chance to continue to be in there. And this was, I've only done, I did the high rollers the year before, so that's the only time I've ever done a rule set of EBI rule set.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is still kind of all new to me. I didn't go into overtime, but I think they're going to develop it, and they said I can have a lot more matches to come.
Oh, okay.
So this was my first finishers. I was just a super fight, so I didn't get to do the bracket. The bracket was I think the 35ers or something.
Yeah.
Sophia from the Blast,
Casella, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that was the bracket, but hopefully we have more.
Yeah.
You know, I think we will.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. We'll
Zach Mescalini's kind of told me that there's more to come.
Yeah.
So, and then they just signed with Flow, so I think that just opens more doors.
Their the Survivor Series thing that they're doing. Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff.
Pretty
Congratulations
cool
to the guys. I know I was talking to them a little bit about that.
As a team as a whole, but also as a community as a whole, it just gives another opportunity. So
absolutely, I'm always happy to see. It's interesting. I had Zach and JM both on my show, and we've kind of talked about their rise to prominence as well, and it's so awesome to see them succeed.
Yeah,
it's one of those gyms where I'm always welcome to. Finishers, everyone's like, "Oh, what's up?
Yeah,
come let me fuck your legs up."
Yeah. They're great. Yeah. They've been like that to me too. So Norris came to say hi.
What's up, buddy? No, for sure. So I have just a couple more questions, and then we can kind of bring this to a close. I know we gotta get you to your car.
Yeah, sorry.
It's all good. So I'm curious a little bit about what is your kind of approach for bringing like a positive mental kind of like keeping your head level, moving into these things, right? There's always that question in the back of the head of I know, oh man, this person's really good. Like you were saying about researching opponents. I have such internal conflicts about doing that myself when I go in to a match. I'm like, I don't even want to know who this person is. They need to just be a red guy, in a video game that I just need to destroy when I get there.
I think I've definitely fought like that, and I just am trying to be smarter and better, and I do want to be on the podium. One coach said to me once, he said, somebody has to stand in that first place spot, and it could be anybody, it could be you. And I think that when I'm challenged, I want to at least meet somewhere even to that challenger, or I'm the challenger now, and I want to be my best. So it's having an opponent kick your ass in a weird way makes you rise. It makes you try to rise to their level, and if they got to stay ahead, hopefully I'll catch up. And the goal is to catch up or catch them, or, I don't really want to be equal. I want to be better. But I mean, I always have to work, and it's definitely made me grow and rise in my game. So I'm not always positive. I go through some real mental lows. Sometimes I'm awesome on the roller coaster up, and sometimes I'm I want to fucking bury myself in my blankets, I can stay there. I say this a lot. Sometimes I stay low, and it's not good. You don't feel good, and you don't perform good, and you have to recognize it and try to come back up to the level. So I don't know if I've mastered that yet. What I try to do is just try to come to class and shake it off, and try to get a better takedown, try to stop a takedown, try to get a submission, listen to people talk about you in the bathroom across, and start to feel good again. I don't know. Sure. I've definitely not mastered the always positive thing. I'm a pretty harsh critic of my own abilities, and so even when I'm doing awesome, I very rarely feel it. So I have to actually say it in my alone time, and sometimes I need to remove myself from people and talk to myself, and I'm nuts, so I don't have that down all the way.
We're all a little unstable in this sport, I think. But yeah, that's really powerful stuff to hear you say that. I know even personally, there are times when even it doesn't even have to be jujitsu. Like with the bus situation that I was doing, I thought like, oh man, like maybe I'm not cut out to do the podcasting. I can't even figure out how to make a school bus like be a stable thing for me. And then I kind of just reassessed my life and made sure that what matters is that I'm a good host on the podcast and I have good guests. Today you were my first guest outside of the bus. Now that I've relinquished it to the world. Yeah. And I couldn't be happier. I think, I'm very confident, in my future as well as yours.
Thank you. I think you're a great host.
Oh, thank you so much.
Nice to get to know you a little bit.
Yeah,
too,
definitely.
So.
We'll have to get some training.
Yeah,
in. I'm very looking forward to get up there.
I'll make you.
Oh yeah, beat me up for sure.
Who knows? You can get me too.
Oh yeah. Watch them feet. Feet. I've been working on the yoks a little bit.
Good.
That's good stuff. So last question I'll ask. Any advice that you can share for any up and coming females that are looking to get into the MMA circuit or even jiu-jitsu?
I think you're going to have to cross bridges you've never done. It's a world and it takes a while. Like I was an MMA baby for 5 years, even though I had fights, and nothing's comfortable. And then all of a sudden one day you're like, oh, I've been here before. You're going to have to put your trust in yourself, which is hard. We're vulnerable and exposed in there. A lot of things that you didn't know about yourself are going to be shown, and a lot of people are watching, and you have to be able to not want to hurt yourself when they're hurting you, because these exposures are on a platform now that many can see. So it's definitely a mental game that you will have its highs and lows, and it's just kind of like life. Your car breaks down and you don't have $3,000, except everybody in the world's watching and they can replay it 100 times. So like, if this is an interest for you, you're going to have to really put in a lot of time.
Yeah.
There's so many women to work with now. You have really, the time is now, and in the future more, you have options, so it doesn't feel so alone. And seek out things that you're not used to, because you're going to cross into a different culture. Be willing to be told you're not good. Be willing to take information that you don't always like to hear. If you ask if you're fat, somebody might tell you are, and that's just like, women say, do I look fat in this? There's a lot of critics. Be willing to be critiqued. Keep a strong belief in what you want. I journal. I always have.
It took me a really long time to start doing that, actually.
Sometimes I go to my white belt journals because I was really big into it then, and I read and I'm like, who is this girl? Just a believer. Sometimes I don't believe in myself and I'm a black belt, and I will be like, whoa, dude. So like sometimes looking back is the best way to move forward, just to see your progress. And like, it's going to be uncomfortable. Not much of MMA is comfortable. You're going to have to allow yourself to train with people that you might not pick before, because that's who's there. And it's just a lot of, I don't know if I'm the best advice giver, but I do know that I never really knew what to expect, and then all of a sudden it starts coming together and you feel like you have a little bit of skin in the game. You're gonna fail.
Yeah,
you're gonna fail a lot. I mean, watch my career. You know what I mean? But I make jokes, but it's the truth. You're gonna be, not everything is handpicked for you to win. Manage your mental as well as you manage yourself, and when you fail, sometimes it is your fault.
Yeah. And
be willing to accept that you're exposing to yourself that you're not perfect. And I don't know. The MMA is such one Elliot Marshall told me MMA is a beast, and it does not love you. And
it checks out.
It's kind of true. And it's like, when you're winning, everybody's with you. When you're losing, they're like, oh, sorry. And they're not all there with you. You don't have a posse going to places with you. I don't know. I might have a different experience than a lot, but I think that for women, there's so many options compared to 10 years ago, and really please come into the sport, because then that just makes more fights, and we all get to learn. So yeah, I don't have great advice.
No, that was awesome. I think one of the things that you were saying that really stuck out to me was manage your mental.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of this quote from a guy named Stephen Furtick about kind of like social media is kind of where he bases this quote from, but he says that insecurity is born from people taking their behind the scenes and comparing it to other people's highlight reel. And, that's Instagram,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you see these like elite performance things happen where somebody gets this crazy knockout. You're like, I could do that. And when it doesn't happen, it's disheartening.
Yeah, you gotta fail a couple hundred times before you get that one.
Exactly. So it's just if you're entering in something you've never done before, be willing to accept you're not the best at it. You might be. Who knows?
Yeah. For sure. All right, I'll give you the floor. Last any words for your training partners or anything? You want to give any shout outs? I
really, really have to thank Finishers MMA. Logic from Philly has also allowed me to do a lot of training there. I train with Stay Fly Muay Thai, but Finishers and 10th Planet Bethlehem, 10th Planet Allentown, the whole community over there has really adopted me, and you're there for me, and you train with me, and you give me every little thing that you learn, and I try to take as much of it in. I don't have a ton of friends on the East Coast, but I feel like I have many, many more now that that I have them, and I feel like I have a home out here. I've crossed through several gyms. Like I got to go to Unity and all these places. Then as a whole, they build me up. But yeah, special thanks to Zach. Not only is my boyfriend, but head coach, willing to put in all that time. Ricky's a coach. Joel, my sparring partners.
I've seen you training with Mr. Pabon as well.
Yeah,
that guy's an awesome trainer.
They're just awesome, and it's just I'm very grateful. Try not to take anything for granted. If I could ever do something better to help you in your things, I just want you to know I'm here, but in the same extension. And I just thank you. I'm looking for sponsors because I don't have any.
Oh, we gotta change that.
Yeah,
What? You're a black belt badass. Come on, somebody needs to get out here. I got sponsors. You gotta have some sponsors. Cool. My God.
Yeah. Don't rub it in.
No, not at all.
I'm just kidding.
I have enough to buy a beer, maybe.
Okay, cool.
Pace for the lights a little bit.
Also, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm really excited to hang out with you and Laura this weekend. You got your training partner. We're gonna be listening to some commentary while you're beating people up. Cool. So it's gonna be a really good weekend. Yep, absolutely. So make sure you guys tune in to Sub Out Domestic Violence. That is this Sunday, and it'll be live streamed actually on my channel, and then I'm gonna give them the footage afterward to post on theirs because I do all the live stream stuff over on this end. But yeah.
Very cool. Nice to meet you a little bit.
Likewise.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Tune in, guys. Make sure you follow Brittney on Instagram and everything as well. We'll have links to anything that is important about her in the description. And as things come up, I will keep updating it for you. Yep.
Sweet.
Peace.
Have a good night.